What's up, guys? Welcome to Information Operation. I'm Connor Ryan, and we're coming at you live on location in Marquette, Michigan at Family Wellness Chiropractic. We're bringing you your locally sourced ideas, thoughts, and inquiries. Today I'm here with Guy Lasich. He is on a mission. His mission is Shine On Marquette, and together he plans to restore the health, purpose, and hope of our nation and world, beginning with our community. He has big plans for this community, and he has a lot of ideas to share. We did a general overview of what Shine On plans to accomplish. So, enjoy. I hope you learned something. Rock on. Guy Lasich, thanks for coming in today. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me here, sir.
Yeah, how are you today?
I'm awesome.
Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday to you as well.
So we're here at Family Wellness Chiropractic,
Yes, we are.
and today we're talking about Shine On Marquette.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about Shine On?
Shine On was first incepted, I guess. It's been a long journey. Many years ago, as I went to pre-med and then I went to school, I went to actually chiropractic school and worked a lot in neurology since then. And I saw a lot of health issues that necessarily didn't have to be there. And it inspired me on levels I can't really put into words. And I had some dear friends that I've worked with along the way to change the belief process that, you know what is Shine On? That name came about in different ways, but it's a project. And the mission is solely that our belief processes are that together, not by ourselves, but together, we can and we will restore the health, the purpose, and the hope of our nation/world. And we're going to begin with our community and push it out from there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So that's what Shine On does. How are you going to do it?
Oh, boy. We might have to have this longer than an hour. So, as I was masterminding with a lot of people, specific people in particular, we looked at humanity and we looked at the health that's out there, which is slim to none. You and I have spoken on large levels of, that the United States is the sickest country in the world.
Yeah.
And whether it be cancer rates, whether it be heart disease rates, the diabetes type 2, whether it be lifestyle diseases, we're number one. We have more medications, we have more doctors, and we're not changing. And we sat down and we thought, what needs to happen here? There's not a whole lot the human body needs to get and stay healthy, but people need knowledge. Absolutely, we've all heard that many times. However, we need inspiration. We all do. I do.
I do.
To surround myself with people who are inspired to get and stay healthy, and it makes a massive difference.
Well, it allows you to stay accountable.
Yes.
And you are a manifestation, your expectations are a manifestation of the people you surround yourself with.
Yes.
It's proven.
Yes. And
so how does Shine On help provide that?
Well, if I may, for just a second, go back to what you just said. There's huge wisdom with what you just said.
Absolutely.
Japanese and Chinese proverbs from 5,000 years ago, as you and I both spoke of, we become the people we surround ourselves with. You become the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? And how important that is, and to see, without doing that, how do you stay inspired? To me, I personally can't. And to surround ourselves with people like that. And so the original question, I apologize, was what?
We got plenty of time.
Oh,
How does Shine On provide that for people?
As we've spoke of in the past, there's a John Lennon song called I Can Only Imagine, right?
Yeah, love that song.
So in many, many years, I guess, at this point in time of just dreaming, right? Like, how could this happen? And to look at if you can only imagine a world where we were infiltrated in multidimensionally of, you know, creating our friends and our relatives, and we become the 5 people we surround ourselves with the most. If they were truly inspired, could you only imagine how awesome that would be? And to increase, again, Shine On mission, to restore the health, because without health, what the heck do we have, right? What put me on this journey when I was 19, 20, 21 is almost dying of stress or Crohn's disease. And so I've been on a deathbed several times in my life, and without health, what do you have?
You can't survive.
It's huge.
Health is wealth.
Amen.
The true wealth.
And then we look at this world of ours with lack of purpose, lack of hope. You know, I oftentimes use the analogy, you know, Connor, let's you and I go walk through Walmart right now and look into the eyes, which are, as many philosophers have said, the windows to the soul. And there's not a lot there sometimes.
There's a wall.
And it breaks my heart. And it's what drives me.
Yeah.
And
To tear down that wall.
Tear down that wall.
To be united as one people.
Yes. And to inspire, you know, of the Spirit, to wake up that spirit inside of all of us.
Yeah. Inspire.
And to take that flame that's flickering, maybe just in some of us a little bit,
right,
but to throw gasoline on that, and let's see how we can change the world.
Yeah.
You know?
How does Shine On, what principles does it use to do so?
I guess as things have evolved, let's go back to the John Lennon song, We Can Only Imagine. Okay? Can you only imagine a world where inspiration was coming at us? Again, I use the term multidimensionally, on a regular basis. Let's imagine that out of Marquette, Michigan, right, where it starts, that a community comes together as one. And we help each other in this realm of health and purpose and hope. And we create a template.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say Shine On Marquette. Okay? Shine On Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Shine On Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And that those come together as one. And we look at that template, we create a role model in Marquette, Michigan, and we create projects where we have one of the most beautiful areas up here, hey? It was just ranked USA Today.
Hey, indeed.
Oh my gosh, hey? Like, it's almost like storybook.
Yeah, it's majestic.
And out of Marquette, you know what? We have the largest wooden dome in the world, next to the largest lake in the world.
Yeah.
Let's just say, for instance, that we go right back to where we left off 3 years ago when I had one of those Crohn's disease health issues, and some of the people I worked with had some health issues, and we were completely primed to set up a project out of the largest wooden dome in the world, right?
Right, to plant that seed.
To plant that seed and to create that template with some of the world's leading speakers in health and wellness and inspiration, and then move to other domes around the United States,
Sure.
eventually around the world.
Sure.
And at the same time, if we could only imagine the potentiality of filming the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
and
To share it.
to share it.
It's the only way.
And imagine if it got picked up as a reality show. Now we're hitting from dome projects to reality show to a website that people could follow every day
Right.
to inspire and educate.
And that's a reality show with purpose.
with purpose.
With purpose, right?
Massive
that adds
purpose.
value to people's lives.
Yep.
So that template sounds like it's been refined in the last 3 years. What does it look like?
Well, it's still being refined. It looks like right now we're re-engaging. Let me rephrase that.
To be continued.
To be continued, actually, which more to come on that from the past, but we're continuing it right now. And I had to get healthier again, which you said maybe we'll speak a little bit of that here in the future, couple minutes. And I had to refine myself, and I guess let the Spirit take us where it goes, and we hope and that we can move forward in ways that we weren't quite ready before.
Right.
And
Right.
go ahead.
You got opened up to move forward without creating any monsters.
Well, and some of the things that happened in the past were, we were physician heal thyself. We've all heard that, and it was moving so fast before that I wasn't able to take care of myself and sleep the way I needed and
Right.
find peace. And it was moving so fast forward that some of my pre-existing health issues came about, and some of the people I was working with in the past, same thing happened. And
Right. We can do that in life. We can get caught up in like a wormhole where we're so passionate, we have so much desire going down this road that we get caught up in it all,
Yeah.
and we lose track of what's really important. And like you said, that health,
Yeah.
your own health, you're so concerned about all these saving the world, helping these people. You got to be alive to do it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, who knows where that would have led you
Yep.
had it continued the way it was.
Yes.
So we're here now.
There's a lot of wisdom with what you just said, Connor.
Well, wisdom is different than knowledge, right?
Yeah.
We all have to learn for ourselves.
Yes.
What about right now? What does Shine On do? What is it? This entity you speak of to help people. How does it help people?
I guess to answer that question,
You can break things down.
it's built in such a way, and it's, to pre-preface my answer, it's an evolving, continually evolving thing. How the Spirit moves myself and other people that I work with, and it's a continually moving thing that we're open to
Ever evolving.
listen, ever evolving. And it's built to inspire. It's built to change lives. It's built to grasp somebody with the different projects that we do, and it's built to bring people in who, one of the things that you and I were talking about a couple of hours ago, you look at our generations and you look at the kids nowadays, and they need role models. And who am I? Who is this person here? And to attract into this project people who kids will really vibrate with and listen to right off the bat because of what they've accomplished, or and we all need role models, myself included, 100% for sure. And people that they look up to that are living in such a way that they're living in purpose, or living in hope, and very importantly health, and to have those types of people involved with this project to move forward and inspire, and it's built in such a way that, and then to take it from locally to nationally, and from nationally to globally, and to team up with other movements that are like-minded.
Right.
Because there's a lot of movements out there that are pumping on some cylinders here,
Right.
some
Health is a very vast
here. Yes.
obstacle to tackle. What is your part in doing so?
Meaning,
What principles do you use? What methods? What do you teach people?
a good definition of health, as what we're trying to propagate,
Sure.
is what we're looking at. So the mission of Shine On is again, together we will restore the health, the purpose, and the hope of our nation/world. Spent a lot of time with a lot of people breaking down the recipe for health,
Yes.
and to make it as simple as we possibly can.
Give it to me. What's that recipe, guy?
Because one more thing before I go into that recipe.
Give it to me.
Wait. If you and I get online right now
Sure.
and we Google health, we could spend
Hours.
infinity
I
looking at,
dissecting.
you know,
Even as health professionals, it's nearly impossible.
and to look at it and break it down in such a way that, okay, that the average person can simply put these recipes together to increase their loved ones and their own health. So we broke it into 4 categories. So number 1 is a properly running nervous system, which we'll get into in a lot of detail, hopefully in future podcasts like this. A properly running nervous system. Our nervous system is the computer system of the body. There's 3 trillion digital bits of information happening in our central nervous system every single second. We have to make sure that's running properly. If it's not, our computer systems are downregulated and we're not running right. And then we all know, number 2, proper nutrition, right? What does that mean in today's world with fad diets and all of this stuff?
It's not a one stop.
Nope.
It's not a one diet fits all.
Nope.
Not a one size fits all.
And to get it as close to what does the human genome need?
Right, the DNA.
Like a plant. What does a plant truly need to stay healthy? To get it as close to that, and then to break it up into specifications after that. So proper nutrition. Proper daily exercise is another one. Just like a plant needs, say, light, we need exercise, or our genes cannot manifest into true health. And with the research, and what does that show at this point in time? Because research, as you know, are always changing.
Right.
You know,
And that's cardiovascular, that's strength training, that's power training, that's flexibility, all of the above.
all of the above.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So properly running nervous system, proper nutrition, proper daily exercise, and then the last main category is to decrease the toxins and increase the increase the peace in our bodies. We have to get rid of the stress response in our bodies
Yes.
by increasing peace and having simple ways to do so.
Sure.
And the amount of toxins from what we breathe in to the pesticides, the insecticides, what's in our water supply,
Yeah.
you know.
Can we talk about that a little bit, that
Absolutely.
last principle?
Go ahead.
Because I don't know a lot about that one. I haven't done my research on toxins, where we're getting them, how we can avoid them. So where would you start with that? Like if you had somebody come in and they say, you know, I have a pretty good diet, I exercise regularly, my brain is healthy, but I don't know anything about toxins. What would you tell them?
Yes. Well, I guess, excuse me, if I was just one-on-one with that patient or person asking that question, most of us inherently know what's not good for us, you know, and a good place to start is looking at, you know, there's a huge movement in the organic food industry right now with, again, the amount of pesticides and insecticides and things that Monsanto is the first one to come up that I've spoke of a lot recently, and how they put these things on our foods, right? And you watch them, actually, you can see videos if you YouTube it, them spraying our foods that we eat.
Yeah.
And they have outfits on like they're going to outer space, right? Because they want to protect themselves.
It's dangerous.
Dangerous.
To be around.
And
And we eat it.
And for a human being to get as close to organic as you can, you know, there's certain foods that are more importantly to eat organic. However, to get as close as possible to that.
Sure. What
And-
foods?
What foods?
Yeah.
Well, there's the Dirty Dozen.
Yeah.
Strawberries are really important to have organic. Blueberries are really important to have organic. And I apologize, I don't have the rest of the Dirty Dozen right now,
Yeah.
but somebody can Google that.
Yeah. Something without a peel.
Yeah.
That helps.
Very important to be organic,
Right.
yes. You know,
I want to just adjust that a little bit. Pull
Yep.
it. Yep.
and like you said, something without a peel. You know, something that avocados, for instance, are a little less, bananas are a little less
Right.
important because
Right.
you know, they
And
can,
their peels are less porous.
yes. Yes.
Like if you think about an orange's peel looks like it breathes a lot more than per se an avocado.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
And, you know, we're very blessed in today's society in that there's a lot of food stores that you can buy a lot less expensive, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, the major food chains are oftentimes going organic now. And, you know, there's a lot of families that that's an issue.
Great
Finances
to see.
is beautiful to see.
So, GMOs sounds
Yes.
like the main issue. For people who don't know, what is a GMO and how do we fight it? Why is it bad for us?
Well, I guess Monsanto, as I mentioned earlier, is one of the main companies in genetically modified foods, and the amount of toxins that they put on these foods in the form, of pesticides and other things to keep, in their eyes, creating food as a simplicity.
Well, they're feeding masses.
Yes.
They're trying to do it economically.
Yeah.
This is herbicide and pesticide,
Mm-hmm.
To kill bugs,
Mhm.
pesticide, to kill weeds
Yeah.
and invasive species, herbicides. Will therefore keep our plants healthy and be able to grow those plants more economically for the masses.
Yes.
But normal plants with normal genetic profiles
Mhm.
cannot sustain that.
Mhm.
So that's why we genetically modify them. Correct?
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
And that's why that happens. And there's a lot of issues that come up with that. And if you look at a lot of countries in Europe now have outlawed that,
Mm-hmm.
right, for the reasons that we're speaking of right now. And
Creates super weeds too.
yes, yes, and whole other issues maybe for another conversation. You look
Right.
at, believe it was Albert Einstein who once said that the quickest way to kill off the planet was to kill the bees which pollinate, and to look what they do to some of nature. And
Yeah. I think there's a disconnect where we don't get that interaction anymore with our farmers, with the people that grow our food, with the food as it's being grown. We don't get to see the process. We go to the grocery store and it's there.
Yeah.
There's no interaction there between people and their food like there once was.
yes,
Do you think that plays into it at all?
well, I think that plays into it.
Allowing this to happen?
And I think it's changing very quickly. I mean, we look at our own hometown right here in Marquette, Michigan, Upper Peninsula, and the market, every Saturday, and it's starting to come back. And the closer we can get
Yeah.
to nature,
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain principles I think that are pretty real.
Yeah.
And the closer we can get to those, and to make the right choices on a regular basis without as much man-made
Sure.
chemicals.
Now, what would you say to somebody who's like, "Oh, that's hippie talk"?
Hippie
That's just
talk?
hippie talk.
Well, I think a couple of years, a lot of people would have say it's hippie talk, but I think the research and technology are so astronomically out there right now that just goes against that.
Yeah.
And
It's very real.
it's very real. And to see what's happening in the United States right now, and I've said many times in my life, money and power seem to corrupt, and there's a lot of that with the food industry, and this conversation can go in a lot of different places right now, and
Right.
it's truly very real, and to maybe dissect into a lot of those at some point in the near future.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. So, what about our water? What do you think most people don't recognize about what might be in our water that we don't see?
Mm-hmm. Well, we all know, and we've all heard on newscasts how, the overuse of medications and the way that it flows out into the environment, and how you can go to the ocean, for instance, and pick up antidepressants and fish, on the West Coast.
Yeah.
However, I think the main things in the water supply, as I look in my office right now and see a purified water, the chlorine, the fluorine, I think that's the two major ones, and that's a huge debate right there.
What does that do to the human body?
Any toxins to the human body cause issues.
Yeah.
And again, to preface that, there's not many of us who are perfect, but the closer we can come and become purified in what we put into our body, the better. And I'm speaking to myself right now as much as anybody. We all have to work on that and create an environment where we're surrounded with people who inspire us to do better and better. But what we put into our bodies become us.
Yep.
And if they're
You
toxins,
get out what you put in.
amen. Garbage in, garbage out. And to put those things into our bodies, and to again, we have this beautiful thing called Google nowadays, where we can Google these things and to see to see the many things that are correlated with toxins that we put into our body, including chlorine, fluorine, you know, the sugar-free things now, they've actually changed the names. What is it? Aspartame? Aspartame.
Oh, aspartame, right.
93 site-specific cancers have been associated with that right now. So things have changed,
Yeah.
and people are more aware of that.
Right.
However,
So you got to look out for it in your diet, in your
Yes.
water. What about things that you put on your skin,
Well-
like bug spray
yep,
or sunblock? Is there some toxins in that stuff too?
absolutely. If you look at sunblock, there's a lot of experts that look at sunblock and have correlated what sunblock does not only to our ocean reefs, but however what it does to our own bodies, and correlated when the sun hits that sunblock, it changes certain rays and increases the risk of skin cancer,
That's so weird.
you know? And you look at,
That's
you know,
backwards.
well, and again, it goes back to, I think what I said a couple minutes ago, the closer we can get to natural,
Sure.
the better.
So what do you do about that? You don't never use sunblock or?
Personally,
Well, sure. Wow.
let's
Why
just say
not?
personally, what I do, no, I haven't used sunblock in years.
Okay.
Does my mother yell at me?
That's why your
Absolutely.
tan is so nice,
Yeah,
guy.
well, I spent a lot of time fishing at the beach recently, and however, you know, I agree with the latest experts, what the latest advice is on things like skin cancer and the sun. The sun is a beautiful element that we need for our bodies, absolutely.
Yep.
Vitamin D synthesis and many
Yep.
other things, absolutely. However, probably not a good idea to burn.
Right.
You know, when you start turning to that point, time to get out of the sun.
Yep.
I use coconut oil a lot of times as a sunblock, which is about about a 4 on the rankings. So it's just a little bit of SPF,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And I stay in the sun long enough not to burn. I very much enjoy it, as we all do as human beings.
Sure.
So yeah.
Gotcha. What about bug spray? What's bug spray?
I don't DEET and these things. It's just there's nothing good about it.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of essential oil companies who have different things that can
Okay.
help with that.
That's cool.
I try to stay out of the mosquitoes if they're bad outside.
Yeah.
You know, they seem to like
It's tough
me.
to avoid sometimes.
So yeah.
So that's, is there any other ways that toxins get in? That I'm missing?
Actually, what you mentioned on the skin is one of the largest ways.
Yeah.
You put in your mouth, you put in your skin.
Soap, mouthwash, toothpaste,
Yeah.
stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, now we're going back to Google, but there's a lot of research that I have seen that you know, fluorine causes a lot of issues with the actual teeth themselves, and we have to wonder how these things happen in the first place, where they became suggested. And
Yeah.
again, I would suggest money and power have a lot of corruption, and that's how a lot of these toxins got
Yeah.
in the plate in the first place.
Yeah. Same circumstance in a lot of history,
Yeah.
So,
All through
So
history.
that's kind of an overview of like how things may get in, and if
Mhm.
you're inclined to do your own research, that's awesome.
Yep.
How do you get these things out?
Some of the best ways is well, an antioxidant / a detox drink, which is very simple to make, which we can get into more detail if you choose. One of the best ways is to take a sauna.
Yeah.
You know, to sit in a sauna and to let yourself sweat. That's the way human beings detoxify the body. One of the best ways.
Naturally.
You know, if you exercise, and if you should be exercising daily to the point you're sweating up a storm. However, if that doesn't happen, to go sit in a sauna.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at people, there's research studies that show that people who live in environments, say like southern Florida or other countries like that, who
Yeah.
sweat nonstop, their incidences of kidney issues and that, because they're always sweating, they're not overtaxing their body,
Mm-hmm.
that they're a lot healthier in a lot of different ways. Yes.
That's-
Drinking tons of water,
Right.
healthy water, to drag that out of your body.
So hydrating, sweat,
Yep.
antioxidants. There's another benefit to saunas as well, besides the detoxification. What is that?
Well, one of the first things that I do, we see a lot of pediatrics at my practice, and to increase the temperature of the body, like a fever, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
years ago, people would say, oh, if you have a fever, decrease it with this drug or that drug, where it's very quickly shifting now that a fever creates an environment in your body where the proliferation of sickness, bacteria and so on and so forth, and it creates an environment where they can't manifest.
Right.
And where before we'd say, oh no, take your kid's fever down. Well, guess what? That would just create an environment where it can
Fester.
yeah. So
So
that's
it's
one
all
of
I
the
can do that, yeah.
huge, yes. And there's actually a lot of anti-cancer properties to that as well, in addition to cleansing your body and getting rid of, once your immune system fights cancer cells, one of the huge things with cancer, one of the 3 leading causes of death in the United States is, once the body's immune system, you want it to have it be strong. Once it fights those, cancer cells, and it has to get out of your body in certain ways. And how does that happen? Well, through your urinary system, through your,
Yep.
intestinal system, but then also through
Or
the
your-
skin, which
the
is
integumentary.
Yep. And the largest excretory organ is the skin.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
just to be pushing that out of your body at all times and recreating yourself on a regular basis.
Yeah,
on
and
a
I
cellular
hear you
level.
mention the big 3, and I kind of want to talk about number 1,
Mhm.
cardiovascular disease, and why that is such a relevant thing in this country and how we can avoid it.
Well, if I may, just for a second. So number 1, 2, and 3,
Sure.
right? As far back as the mid-90s, the New England Journal of Medicine stated that at that point in time, heart disease was the number 1 cause of death. Number 2 was cancer. And at number 3, it blew everybody's socks off, but what they said was the number 3 leading cause of death in the United States at that point in time. Again, this is a New England Journal of Medicine. They
Big time.
stated that medicine itself was the 3rd leading cause
Are
of
you
death.
serious?
Yep. They also said,
It wasn't like a stroke or respiratory.
no, way
or
beyond
accidents.
that.
I
Nope,
love accidents. That's one of my favorites.
That was way lower. And what the New England Journal of Medicine stated at that point, I believe it was 1996, not quoting me on that, they said medicine is number 3. However, they said, because of the inherent legal ramifications of having pharmaceuticals in medicine and improper diagnosis
Listed.
nobody wants to see that, and so it would get listed. At that point in time, they said 3 times less, which, if we do our numbers, was around 500 to 700,000 deaths per each one of those. So
Right.
they said it's probably 3 times higher, which would actually, in reality, make it the number 1 cause of death at that point in time. Since then, I've seen research studies that show it even higher. By no means am I saying emergency medicine doesn't have a place. Absolutely. But just to always keep in mind the inherent, very inherent, again, go ask the pharmacist when you have a medication for the real, you'll get a little list of side effects, but there's a big page that you can ask your pharmacist for.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. So your original question, though, now was on
Cardiovascular disease.
cardiovascular. Again, each one of those is very preventable. As a human species, we're built to be healthy, period. Cardiovascular has a lot to do with, as we talked about with Shine On. So what is the definition of how do you get healthy? Properly running nervous system, proper nutrition, proper daily exercise, decrease toxins, increase
Ooh,
peace.
I got a loaded question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How does a properly running nervous system relate to your cardiovascular disease risk?
I would say Google one of the world's leading cardiologists. His name is Dr. Jack Wolfson.
Sure.
And
What does he say?
He has written books on this that are New York Times best-selling books. And in his personal practice down south, he does not accept a patient unless they are actively creating a properly running nervous system, meaning it has so much to do, the nervous system has so much to do with heart issues across the board. It has to do with your nervous system, your computer system. the cholesterol levels for various reasons, the insulin levels in your body, which
Oh.
then transcend to cardiovascular issues,
Mm-hmm.
right down to any arrhythmias of any sorts whatsoever. The nervous system can have so much to do with all of that,
It's
and
your autonomic nervous
and
system
yep,
as the computer running the system.
everything automatically.
Yeah.
And
And
if
when
it's
people think, oh, do I have a healthy brain? I don't think they think, how is my insulin levels? How is my cholesterol? How is my, they don't get their blood tested, so they just don't know. Their
Yep.
triglycerides. Like,
Yep.
your brain runs on those things. Your brain requires the oxygen, good oxygenated
Yep.
blood, and nutrients. What
Yep.
nutrients?
Pardon me?
What nutrients?
Essential fatty acids are very important for brain
Okay.
function as far as nutrients. Obviously, as you
And
mentioned,
glucose as well.
oxygen, yes. All of those are super important. And a properly running nervous system, again, as I suggested, in the near future, let's sit down and dissect
Yeah,
each
break
one
it
of
down.
these. The nervous system, the nutrition, the exercise, and
What do you think about no-fat diet?
a no-fat diet. Fats are extremely important for our
Yeah.
body.
What about no carb?
No carb? Yes. Carbs as far as fruits go, awesome.
Yeah,
But pastas, breads,
right.
again,
But what about no carb?
no carb. Well, I would say no man-made carbs.
Right.
That would be perfect, hey?
Yeah.
And I watched the research so well that, they used to say it wasn't only 10 years ago, fruits are full of carbs, only have 1 to 3 pieces of fruit per day. Now,
And what's your biggest food group 10 years ago?
yeah,
Bread.
yeah. Well, you look at our cancer rates, our heart disease rates, there you go.
It makes sense.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah. Education.
Education.
That's what I learned in health class. I'm 22.
Yep,
I learned the
Yep.
I learned the food pyramid in 4th grade.
yep. And you look at dairy, and you look at, but the biggest group, like the bread, the pastas, all of that stuff, again, I there's so much detail to get into that we should with that, and we will. That's
Yeah.
part of the project. Is
What do you think about the MyPlate?
I'm not familiar.
MyPlate.gov. They have your recommended daily value of each food group, and
I'd have to see it nowadays, but I trust that if it's a government-regulated thing, it's not on to what the research shows.
really,
But I'm not sure.
because the government is based on, like you said,
Now we're going down the rabbit hole.
power and money.
Power and money, and a good example of that. Monsanto is as we sit here right now, being bought out and partially merging with Bayer,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would
Which is, what's Bayer?
well, pharmaceutical company
Pharmaceutical.
amongst other things, and so they got both ends kind of covered, and some of the world's foremost thinkers might suggest that all the pesticides and all
What do you mean by both ends covered?
they got the one end covered where they're putting things on the food that have been highly suggested, and actually there's lawsuits as we speak currently that they cause cancer.
Mm-hmm.
However, on the other end, the pharmaceutical companies might deal with some of the issues created here. And again, just some things that common sense might dictate.
So that sounds like a cycle there.
Sounds like a cycle there.
Who's the victim?
Us and our families and our loved ones. And the good thing is, it's very simple to get healthy and stay healthy.
Yeah.
There's
There's people who we're not alone, basically.
Yeah.
There's people
No,
who
we're not alone.
recognize us.
We're not alone by any means. There's movements, and part of what we're trying to do is to join these movements together and to become one
Right.
in a way that we can change the world very quickly, because as we mentioned, this Titanic of health, the Titanic's going down. The United States is the sickest country in the world. We have more doctors, more nurses, more pharmaceuticals than all of the countries combined.
Yeah. But
And
how-
we're the sickest country in the world. And again, not that there's not a place for medicine. However,
so if the Titanic's going down, how do we save everybody?
well, I would,
Do we have enough lifeboats?
no. However, I would say that we do that our best that we can possibly do.
Mm-hmm.
and we continue to rally together as commonsensical human beings, look at the very simplistic things that we need to do to change. We inspire each other, and that we move into that direction.
Sure.
None of us are going to make perfect choices every day with nutrition.
Right.
I mean, the closer we can get,
The better.
the better.
And it's kind of fun. It's not funny. You see on the Titanic, who got to go on the lifeboats first? Women and children.
Yeah.
Children. How do you inspire children? Because they are our future.
Mm-hmm.
They are the next generation to carry on whatever we get rolling.
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it?
I would say that we are perfectly set up right now with media, social media, that we have a voice again, that we utilize with intelligence what inspires children. A lot of what I've looked at is early teenage years through mid-teenage years to grab them, and that we have who are their role models, and we find those people who are willing to take the time and energy and love to inspire them, because a typical person,
Dr. Guy Lasich.
Dr. Guy, who is
Family
he?
Wellness.
Yeah, and to find people that are doing the right things that they look up to, as you remember, as you and I were children, Connor, there was people we looked up to,
Mm-hmm.
and
For me, it was like Mike Mexter, professional motocross racer, and
to have those people,
Mike Spinner, BMX rider.
and to have money and power
Yeah.
dictate, instead of them
talent.
propagating
And talent.
talent,
Young, talented people.
instead of having them propagate Monster drink,
Yeah.
have them propagate, oh, what if you did this and this,
Yeah.
and then you're like me, and to have endorsements coming from,
Yeah. Be like Mike. Drink
Yeah.
chocolate milk.
yeah, right,
Right?
yeah, that was more my generation than yours, I think,
Yeah.
but
But that's interesting. I never thought about it like that. I mean, if you look at the extreme action sports world, who are the biggest sponsors?
mm-hmm.
Red Bull.
Yep.
Which no, like, I don't want to knock Red Bull because they put on some phenomenal events,
Yes.
and they have phenomenal athletes and marketing. But their product, I don't necessarily agree with their product, just because of their sugar content.
And if we take this far enough, isn't there natural things they could put in those drinks that might give the same euphoric
Caffeine.
rush?
Talking about caffeine. What's your take on caffeine, Guy?
Oh boy, that's a whole nother subject.
Let's cover it right now.
As far as caffeine goes, there's research studies that show that it helps different types of it's a black and white. Not black and white. It can help with certain issues. However, there's a lot of ramifications that come with it as well. Do I like my antioxidant coffee every morning? Do I enjoy it? Yes. Am I ready to change? No. Have I seen enough research that I should change? Not really yet. And when I mix coconut oil in there with natural UP, Upper Michigan made maple syrup, just a little bit of it, and then the rest of it is healthy water, and so that's my conglomerate I'm drinking, that's a whole different ballgame than these kids that are drinking
Starbucks.
or even worse, way worse probably, Monster,
Frappe,
or, those
latte.
type of things.
Yeah, the fancy coffee or the Monster Energy, go-to for the caffeine.
Yep.
Black coffee.
Yep. And
Or
so,
natural cream. A lot of people do heavy whipping cream from Healthy Cows.
yep. And that's, from healthy cows that aren't full of antibiotics and growth hormone and these things, and that haven't been pasteurized and homogenized, and it's
Ungrained.
by no means the worst, yeah.
Where's the disconnect between the chemicals in our food and us buying it anyways?
Meaning,
Just a normal person, like, going through life. I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to pick up this, just like I always have. Like, where did that start?
Well, I would say the disconnect is a complete lack of knowledge, where I grew up in that same place,
Yeah.
right?
But this is recent, right? When did they start putting massive amounts of chemicals on our food?
It's been many years that you look at the massive amount of antibiotics that might go into beef, and then the dairy, and that's been going on for decades.
Right.
And they're now shifting that around where you'll actually even go to Walmart and see, you know,
No hormones.
antibiotic free, no
Yeah.
growth hormones. The meats or the chicken or
Mhm.
the milk, and
Yeah.
so those kind of toxins have been, I mean, decades and decades.
It just seems like when you talk to maybe an older generation about this stuff,
Mhm.
that it's not so, it doesn't have the impact.
Mhm.
It's like, this is how it's been. I
Mhm.
feel fine. This is all right. And there's no like getting through to them that this is cutting edge. This is what you're putting in your body.
Yep, it's very difficult.
Why is that?
Well, I guess the neuroassociative links that they've created for years and years. And before we go into that, let's look at their health,
Hmm.
right? That's what we want to change. We don't want the cancer rates with the people from 50 to 80 years old right now, the heart disease rates, the lack of exercise, the lack of a properly running nervous system, the lack of proper nutrition, when
Yeah.
all the, pasta, breads, my generation growing up, yes, I enjoy those things because I've grew up on them, and they satiate me because of the way I grew up. However, the knowledge is what needs to change, and
Yeah.
why we want to stay away from those, and maybe
Yeah.
have less and less cheat days over time where we
Yeah.
put those things into our body that structurally change us in so many ways.
Well, on that note, I think it helps to start there. So, like, it's kind of like nipping the tree in the bud, right?
Mhm.
Where you have the young kid, he's just now learning what is right and wrong,
Mm-hmm.
what is to eat. If you have an adult who is, a professional or a sovereign, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have been doing wrong for so long, it's hard to tell them that
Yes.
you've been wrong this whole time.
I would suggest it's hard to tell them anything, yes. And to create programs for simple change over time, first of all, what we learned as I was a child, knowledge is power, absolutely. To come with the right knowledge, but then with the right inspiration to maybe make those different decisions over time. And, again, when they start feeling a difference,
Yeah.
like you drink caffeine, you
Yeah.
feel something. When they replace those 15 donuts every day with an apple,
Right.
and maybe 14 donuts, and then they make those progressive changes.
Right. Incrementally.
Incrementally.
It can't be a complete overhaul.
Very rarely, unless
Very
somebody
hard.
does something like have a heart attack, and
Yeah.
or I'm diagnosed with cancer and I have to make those changes right now or I will die.
Right.
Then sometimes they have more ammunition to make those changes. However, most people aren't in that position, and so to make those small incremental changes over time, and then, nothing. We talked about this earlier. Nothing tastes as good as healthy feels, and when they start feeling that rush of life, when they go out and they start exercising, and they might fall off that, they stumble and they fall over time. However, they'll continue to come back, and I've experienced that in my own life.
It's not overnight.
It's not overnight.
That's what people don't want to understand. It's this instant gratification society that we've created. You want something, go buy it.
Yep. And to have them and give them the reasons to make that change quicker, because TikTok,
Yeah.
you know?
Guess what? You can't go buy your health.
Nope.
You have to
Nope.
work for it. You have to do the work.
And to have them see, medicine is the number one cause of bankruptcy. Not only does this manifest in the way we feel and our cancer rates and our heart disease rates and our
Yeah.
diabetes
And you
rates.
see that. People try to buy the medicine to make them feel better.
Yep.
To make them feel better.
And although there's a place for medicine, let me restate that again, it never gets to the root cause of the problem, ever. There's always a reason, and there's ways that by changing those things, those simple things that we've discussed several times now,
Yeah.
that recipe to health, we can actually change the way that our genes and our epigenome express themselves towards higher health. We can recreate our bodies. We've all heard that
What do you mean?
every 7 years we recreate our own body and we
Yeah.
have all new cells.
Yeah.
And if we feed them properly, have a properly running nervous system, exercise rate, we'll have a whole new body in a certain amount of time. But actually right down to the way that our genes and our telomeres and how all of that unfolds, our body's genetic makeup need exercise
Yeah.
or they're going to fall apart.
They degenerate.
They need the proper nutrition. They need a properly running nervous system or they fall apart. I mean, right down to the aging process, which in today's society, none of us want to age, okay?
Mhm.
Right down to how we age internally and externally, superficially and inside the way that we age. If we do not have a properly running nervous system, we're going to age way faster. If we don't eat properly, again, and
What medicines are the worst?
well, one of the safest, probably the safest medication, and one of the longest standing medications is aspirin itself.
Uh-huh.
Aspirin kills more people in the United States from what it does as far as ulcerative bleeding and different things that unfold than AIDS does in the United States. That's one of the safest medications.
Can you say that one more time?
Yes, aspirin, one of the safest and longest standing medications in the United States, right, is killing more people a year than AIDS does. And
The safest.
the safest. I mean, in my opinion, you
Right.
know. And so
So go
some
down
of
the
them-
list a little bit.
Oh boy. First thing that comes to my mind is antibiotics.
Mm-hmm.
For years, it was clouded as this is our savior,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now the overuse of antibiotics has led to super germs and MRSA and things that kill more people worldwide, right, than most of the diseases they were looking at preventing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, is there a place for antibiotics? Well, let's keep it for emergency situations,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
You know, other medications. I mean, look at the amount of painkillers and the issues we have right now, right? Look at the money we spend as Americans, opioids, right?
Yeah. What kind of issues do you see related to those?
Well, one of the biggest financial issues is when babies are born addicted to these. Every single baby that's born addicted to those, it costs us as taxpayers $50,000 per baby. The amount of money is astronomical with that. You know, and you look at the amount of pharmaceutical drugs that come on the market, and then in a certain amount of time they're off the market because the research didn't put everything together and didn't see the side effects that were really happening, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you look at cholesterol medications, right? There's a reason somebody has high cholesterol, you know,
Because
and
they're not,
doing the things they need to be doing.
right? Because you have a certain amount of cholesterol. Everybody does.
Yep.
And you can't necessarily... How do you lower it?
Well, real good way is to get rid of the stress response unfolding in the body, which is multidimensional. You get rid of it by exercising, by eating properly, and doing these types of things.
Yeah.
The right type of fats that you mentioned a little while ago, huge important to the body.
Right.
That you put the right types of fats in. It's not the fats; it's more the carbohydrates that have led to
Yeah.
a lot of the issues. And then
Now, isn't it when you get low-density lipoproteins, you get it from like processed foods, and then the high-density lipoproteins you get from like omega-3, fish oil, unsaturated fats. One goes in, the low density, and then the high density carries it out. So if you're not getting enough of one,
one of the most
it stays in the bloodstream.
Yes.
It clogs the arterioles.
Yes. However, inflammation plays a huge part into that as well. And to you know, inflammation with our bodies has been correlated with cancer, heart disease,
Yeah.
huge with heart disease,
Yeah.
huge with cancer.
And
The
acidity,
anti-inflammatory
too.
process, acidity is a big one as well.
Yeah.
Yes. To putting the right types of foods in, not to become too acidic and having peace in
Yeah.
our life.
Yeah.
Because if we're stressed all the time,
Yeah.
that stress creates that acidic type of environment.
When I hear inflammation, I think like, oh, I sprained my ankle. I got
Mhm.
inflammation in my ankle. What does it mean on on the scale that we're talking about right now.
A lot of the stuff that we eat causes inflammation into our bodies. What you mentioned earlier, the massive amount of carbohydrates, the bad carbohydrate that we eat, the breads, the pastas, those all create massive amounts of inflammation.
Yeah. And the saturated fats from like brownies and cookies and stuff like that.
And it's more so the sugars in that even than, yes, the bad fats for sure. You know, the regular oils like Crisco and things that our parents used growing up instead of using avocado oil and
Or olive oil.
coconut oil and olive
Yeah.
oil and organic and, you
Sure.
know, GMO-free type of stuff, which is
Sure.
so good for you.
Yeah.
You know, I put all of those things we just mentioned in my health and vitality shake every morning.
Right.
Coconut oil,
Right.
avocado oil.
Or fish oil, things like that.
And take my fish oils every day,
Yeah.
essential fatty acids, absolutely. Again, it all boils down. What is the Shine On Project about? Increasing the health, the purpose, and the hope of our nation /
Yeah,
world.
this is just broken down a little bit.
What is health?
This.
Again, properly running nervous system, which if you don't have that, massively increases
That's why it's number one.
inflammatory.
Yeah.
That's why we created it as number one. And you know, the proper daily exercise, the proper nutrition, and increased peace and decreased toxins. And that's the recipe.
I like how you say increase peace rather than decrease stress.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool.
It seemed more peaceful to me.
Yeah.
You know, because we're seems like we're in a world where we're fighting things all the time instead of just letting things flow with some knowledge and inspiration and
Instead of fighting, seeking.
seeking peace.
Seeking. I
You
love
know?
it.
You know, we're in a world where driving, Connor, driving is so much more stressful. Even if you're not feeling your
Yeah.
stress response happening,
Yeah.
you're passing a car doing 60 miles an hour, you have a logging truck or a semi coming,
And you're getting the text.
you're stressed and you're getting a text, but you wouldn't be, of course, but you know, and that stress response is firing so much. As soon as that stress response goes off, it downregulates. That's one of the lectures that I often give is about stress. The stress response is elicited, just like if you and I were hiking or biking today and a bear's coming after us.
Yeah.
The same stress response.
Yeah. Which is healthy to a certain extent.
It's healthy in the right circumstances, absolutely. But that stress response increases things like, you know, adrenaline, you know, catecholamines, cortisol, all this stuff. That's all the lifestyle diseases are caused from that. What causes stress? Well, by the way, eating a high carb diet elicits stress. Stress elicits stress. An improperly running nervous system massively increases the stress response. What happens when those unfold? When the stress response goes off, your body goes, I have an issue over here I have to deal with. I'm not worried about my immune system because I have to live through this issue first. So it downregulates your immune system. It changes your insulin levels, type 2 diabetes, your serotonin levels in your brain, depression, dopamine, all that stuff,
Yeah.
all massively
Yeah.
change.
And your heart.
And your heart
Your heart
rate
has to deal with all those stress hormones.
increases blood pressure, increases all of that.
Yeah.
Cholesterol,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not just living in that Zen state. Yes, we need to create peace.
We can't all be monks.
No.
That's the reality of it.
And to overcome, so those stress hormones are created. I mean, we're on the internet, it's going 1,000 miles a second, right? And we're driving and we're doing these things and trying to deal with life and fit everything in. And, you know, to eat right, so it's not eliciting the stress response, huge important. To keep a properly running nervous system, so the nervous system, if it's being crushed, creates a massive stress response
Would you
in
just
the
do
body.
posture?
Yeah, posture.
Posture.
Yeah, and
What role does posture play in that?
massive. I mean,
Because that's how you get your oxygen, right?
huge
Take a
amounts
big,
of oxygen.
big deep breath in. You got to be sitting up straight, big and tall.
Candace, yes. However, it's not just a purposeful standing up tall, which is good. Like you and I right now are both sitting. Sitting is absolutely horrendous on our health in so many dimensions.
We didn't used to do this. Our bodies
Ever.
aren't built for this.
And you even go back to the Paleolithic times. Right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all over the place, and we'll pull this all together somehow here. However, in the Paleolithic times, they were the unbelievable health, right? They walked around 10 miles a day collecting fruits and twigs and berries to eat.
Totally.
And these type of
They
things.
hunted.
They hunted. They got their exercise at 10 miles a day. They sprinted sometimes, so, you know, the
Right.
different types of exercise. They didn't sit. It wasn't until we started riding on, you know, horses and camels,
Sure.
that our spines now, then we started seeing the remains of the decay and degeneration from sitting. Now we're driving in cars, we're texting,
The sitting is going up.
sitting is going up again. Google Mayo Clinic and sitting,
You
they
can get a job now, right? You can get a job and sit behind a desk
Mhm.
and go to the grocery store and survive based on what you do sitting at a desk.
Mhm.
That is the work that you put in.
And there's ways to overcome the ramifications that come from all this sitting.
Yeah. It
You know?
seems like before your work was active
Mhm.
and your
Yes.
recovery was downtime.
Mhm.
Now your work
Mhm.
is inactive
Mhm.
and your downtime is
Inactive.
in a perfect world,
Oh,
exercise.
perfect world. Yes.
Exercise
Yes.
is trying to fight that.
Yep.
We've switched entirely.
And ways to overcome, ways to create your lifestyle in such a way that you're getting up away from that computer every 15 minutes and doing certain types of stretches to help your posture. What you mentioned earlier, your breathing itself.
the yoga.
Yes.
Seriously.
All of that, seriously.
Do
all
the
of
yoga.
that. And but it's redesigning lifestyles. And for what cause? Life. Because if you don't do it, our health is going like this, and it's not getting any better right now. And
The one like devil's advocate argument I always hear for that kind of stuff when people of the past were healthier. What about their lifespan?
their lifespan. Let's go back to the ideal human race was
Yeah.
about the Paleolithic time. They ate perfectly.
Okay.
It was all organic.
Yeah.
They exercised 10 miles a day walking plus sprinting trying to catch the bison.
Yeah.
Right? And then their lifespan was short because there wasn't emergency medicine back then, if the saber-toothed tiger caught you, or if you and I are walking and you break your leg as
Yeah.
a child,
Yeah.
or let's say a child breaks their
Yeah.
leg, the parents don't have the ability to carry them, they're going to pass away.
Right.
If you live to a certain point and it wasn't an emergency, they live long lives.
So the number one cause of death for them, accidents.
Back then, yes.
That's okay. That
Yes.
kind of makes sense.
Almost virtually, and here's where geneticists have this has blown things out of the water in the last 20 years. They have ways to test what their cancer rates were, near zero or zero, basically. There was not cancer. There was not, these types of lifestyle diseases now, they were non-existent back then. So people will make that argument, well, people live longer. Well, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
I broke my foot. A lot of people broke things as a youngster
You would have died.
because your parents can't carry
You
you
would have died.
those 10 miles
Yeah.
every day. Yeah. And so,
That's interesting to think about. You sprain your ankle, potentially you're dead.
yep.
Imagine living like that.
Yeah. Well, and again, thank God for emergency medicine. It was just, we've
I
taken
like
that.
how you say, I see the value in emergency medicine.
Absolutely.
It's necessary.
It saved my life, several times.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so shine on. So let's definitely break these down into much more intricate
Yeah.
aspects
I
of.
feel like we've only scratched the surface,
and
and
it
we've done an
has.
hour.
Yeah, and it has only scratched the surface, and to begin is a place,
Yeah.
and that's where there's people that that are my mentors in those different categories that from dome projects, those will be the people. It won't be me on stage.
Yeah.
It'll be them, because their whole life, I see patients from 10 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock every day, in addition to everything else that I do.
Yeah.
Their place is research, and they're the people that are my mentors and that I look at and go, you're one of the most far ahead thinkers on the planet. These people and there is sense to this health thing, and it's simple,
Yeah.
and people make it so complicated.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you're breaking it down, and you're applying that knowledge that you've obtained.
Mhm.
And if you continue to do it consistently, and
Yep.
and we continue to collaborate,
Yep.
positivity, here we come.
Just imagine
Rock on.
You know, the world is a whole different place. To go save that Titanic that's going down.
It's awesome, guy.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time today.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Until next time, guys.
Yes, sir.
Ride the waves, dude.